Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today we're going to be talking to Phil and Christie Green, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, not husband and wife. They are the founders of GG Homes and the Honest Agent Real Estate Team. They'll do over 200 fix and flips this year, and they're some of the most brilliant real estate investors I know. We're going to be talking about how they transitioned from agent to investor, how they use some really powerful, really cool, and really simple data stacking tools to make sure they can find the best deals in any market, and how they're funding and flipping their deals for maximum profit. If you have any questions, put them in the box below. Juno chop that like button, and we'll see you on the inside. Side note, this episode was filmed pre-COVID-19, but all the strategies we talk about are still just as effective in today's market. All right, very excited to be sitting here with GG Homes, going to be talking about the impressive job that they've done with building their business and now turning that into becoming the #1 home buyer in San Diego. I think you guys said you were looking to do over 200 flips this year. So that's obviously very exciting for you guys. And I know that you started as real estate agents and then transitioned over to the investor side. Like, what did that look like for you guys?
That's a great question, Oliver. Thanks for having us on. So what it looked like for us was we were agents, working hard, grinding, like many of you out there. And we just saw every once in a while we'd find a home that had a cracked slab, or there was mold from a leak in the roof, and there was issues. And every time we needed to get this home sold, it was really challenging. And we bumped into an investor who could buy it cash, who could close in 7 days, and who said, "Hey, I want you to represent us." And we're like, "Wow, this is good." Mm-hmm. We get to double in this transaction, and it's a quick sale. Yeah. There's no inspections. It's super easy. And what, you're going to close in 7 days? And we watched him renovate a few of these things and then sell it. And we got to sell it too. And we're like, "Wow, we're making 3 times as much money as we normally make as an agent." And we watched them make a ton of money too. And after watching a few of those, we're like, "Wow, why don't we give this a try?" And then from there, 4 or 5 years later, we're right where we are today.
Wow, that's great. So you said you bumped into this investor. Where was that, or how did that happen on your first one?
I think the first one I had listed on the market, and a couple investors reached out to me.
Okay.
But from there, I went and pursued them. I went to find, who are the big investors in town? Who are the guys that can buy and guarantee a close and aren't going to play games? Because the first time I had 2 or 3 investors that wrote offers, and then they all backed out. And it really made it tough for me because my client was upset, and they were scared because it was a cracked foundation, and it's a lot of work, and it was a little too big of a job for them. So I wanted to find an investor I knew I could count on and I could rely on.
And what did you do to vet that person to make sure that you could count on them, rely on them to perform? Because I think, as you guys know, there's a lot of people that go to like a weekend seminar and then come back and they're an investor. How did you filter those people out?
It was volume. At the time, it was CT Homes. They were the biggest flipper in San Diego.
Okay.
It was like 5 years ago. And they're doing 20 plus homes a month. And I saw these beautiful homes. I went and toured a couple. I'd even taken buyers in the past, or had offers on some of their homes. So I knew they were reliable, they were solid, they did great work, and they had a really good, outstanding reputation.
So you just kind of went to the big dog
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, we've got some deals, maybe we can make something happen," and then put them into your process. Moving forward, when you found distressed properties or properties that needed a lot of work, you just match made with them and then closed on those?
We did, yeah.
And they gave you the relist on all those?
They did. And it was great because you make 3 times as much. It's a way easier transaction, and you get paid in a week.
Yeah.
So as an agent, you're like, "Wow, I can make 40 grand and get paid in a week."
And I want to touch on that because I think that's a lot of people, things that a lot of agents don't pick up right away, is how they can make a lot more money with working with investors. So can you kind of just touch on that? Because obviously you had that experience when you guys started. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you guys?
I think agents don't understand that investors are really looking for a partnership with most agents, and we really want a long-term relationship. Many times we don't even make money on that first deal we do with you. We buy it really thin, and we're happy if we break even. Mm-hmm. And you still get paid, you still get your back end listing and walk away making 30, 40 grand. But we're looking for a long-term relationship where we're gonna get the next 5, 10 deals, and we can work together. And I think a lot of agents that start to work with us and then they see that, they say, "Hey, this is a partner, this is a future client." Mm-hmm. And pretty soon they see us as part of their team. And we help them out in other ways too. We provide contractors. There's a lot of things we can do. So in the end, we end up building relationships with a lot of these agents that see, investors before as kind of like a challenge or someone who could potentially take their deal. It's the opposite. We want to work with them, and we want to build a relationship with them, and we see it long term. We're okay if
we
one
brand
deal.
as your forever client.
Yeah, we see one we see one deal, it doesn't matter. Many deals we lose a little bit of money and we buy, we get in, we build this relationship, and they see the kind of value we add, and we do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 deals with some agents a year now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense, and I think what you said about looking at it like a partnership is perfect, because if you can go into a listing and say, hey, I can get you an all-cash offer in 24 hours, like that's obviously makes the agent's pitch stand out from all the other agents. Yeah. And is everyone going to take that? No, of course not, but it adds another layer to their tool belt. They're also like all the iBuyer programs are hot right now, and people are kind of scared and worried about like Zillow offers and all that. But I mean, our perspective, and I'm sure yours is the same, is that any agent could duplicate that same exact program by just working with an investor to facilitate an all-cash offer program within 24 hours where they can just add that to the tool belt. And now they're competing with Zillow offers.
100%.
Yep, and in Zillow offers this case, they really only want properties that need paint and carpet. They don't want anything else. And we just had one of our agents wanted to sell one of his condos, and he tested it. He didn't even hear back from Zillow for over a week. So I think they still have a lot to work out, and they're really busy. Whereas, we'll have someone out there the same day, it's 0 contingencies, our GC checks it off, and it's a done deal. It closes in 7 days cash, and we never go back on that. So I think there's still a lot of value working with a local investor that knows the market, that has their systems built out, and that is as big as us, because it's a done deal. We're closing every single time. There's no games played.
So we're back after a brief noise intermission, and we're going to get back into this. So we were just talking about how agents can partner with investors to grow their business for a number of different reasons. One, they get to double end the transaction in a lot of cases, maybe even triple end it if they, take it all the way to the finish line. But like, how does the process work for those agents up front? Like they come across a deal like we all do that has mold or foundation issues or whatever those issues are. What happens next? How do they facilitate the process with an investor?
Well, they email us, and we have an in-house appraiser. His full-time job is just to get back to you as soon as possible. Sometimes you'll get an answer in an hour, but we normally guarantee within 24 hours we'll have an offer for you.
By have an answer, he means have numbers, have an offer, price.
In hand, ready to go.
Yep.
And you guys always close at that number and feel good about that number when you give it to them?
Well, we also send out our contractor next.
Okay.
And when the contractor views it, at that point, it's 0 contingencies, close in 7, 10, 30, whatever they want. We close on the seller's schedule.
That's awesome.
Essentially verifying the condition that the agent told us that it was in. So as long as everything matches up and the contractor signs off, then we're good to go.
Yeah, cool.
And obviously, if you show up and the house is cracked in half, which has happened.
Or there's no house and it's just a slab. That's also happened.
That's happened too.
They gave us an address
it's
and
a little different
just foundation.
Yeah,
but as long
that
as
might affect things slightly.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So as long as it matches up to what we were told, we normally can make it work.
Well, okay, so you guys have obviously been flipping for quite a while. You guys do high volume, and obviously not every deal's a win. What's one that was like a big failure that you guys had happen? And this came from Eric Upchurch in the Facebook group. So if you're on Facebook, get in the Real Closers group and you can make these interviews interactive with us. But he just wanted to know what was kind of a really bruising real estate investing experience for you guys.
We've had a couple tough ones. We had one we took in an up-and-coming neighborhood, and we completely finished it. We were really excited about it. Apparently, the individual who had been evicted from the house wasn't very happy about it and came back and kicked out the windows, ripped out everything, started a fire, burned part of the house down. I mean, it was pretty bad. It actually looked far worse than it did prior to starting the rehab. So that one took a while.
Yeah. And what was that, like a tenant that came back or the previous owner?
Yeah.
The tenant.
Yeah, it might have even been some guy who just occupied it and then ended up saying he was the tenant. And that's what we had to end up evicting. The sheriffs did, and he didn't take it too well.
And he came back and just broke in and ruined everything.
Stole everything. He got us good. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was a tough one. A year later, after rebuilding that thing, it was...
Did you guys make money on it?
Oh, no, it was probably 6 figures negative.
Wow. So you took it on the chin pretty bad on that.
It happens.
Yeah. What about, now on the other side of the coin, what about like big wins? What was just like one that you just were like, wow, I can't believe that went down like that?
We've seen a lot of opportunities with adding ADUs. We just took one down where we weren't sure what to do, so we just added an additional ADU in Claremont, right next to the beach communities. It took a little while to finish, but we ended up selling it, and it sold for $150,000 more than we thought it would.
Wow.
So it's really interesting. Sometimes you take a risk, and it works out great.
Yeah.
And other times you buy a house, it's in a tough neighborhood, and you think you're taking on an eviction, and you're buying it, with the tenant in place, and it's going to be okay, and he comes back and he burns the whole house down.
It's wild.
It goes both ways.
Yeah. And what did that ADU cost you guys to build?
I think we built it probably about $100,000
Nice.
total. We have an in-house construction group, so we can keep costs pretty affordable.
So that makes things a lot easier for you guys. That was actually part of my next question, is kind of how you guys are set up operation-wise. Like, how many team members do you have, and how are you guys set up operationally?
So we have about 12 in-house GG Homes employees, and we have a real estate team of about 30 agents that help bring us deals in-house. And they also hold our open houses open once the properties are renovated. So on the back end, that team gets first crack at holding everything open, and then we distribute it to the kind of the greater San Diego realtor community. Then we have the construction team and project management team. So once a deal is purchased, it goes over to them, and then they do the renovation, get it through to being done, and then it goes back in-house to our listing management team. Does that make sense? So kind of acquisitions, renovation, listing management.
And those 12 employees, how is that broken down? Like, who does what? I'm sure you have your in-house appraiser, right, that's doing
in-house
evaluations.
appraiser. There's Phil, obviously. He does kind of the CEO visionary role. Paul, his brother, does the finance stuff. Mark, his other brother, does operations. I do the marketing. We've got 3 full-time admin, 2 project managers, 2 project coordinators who are, like I said, working on the renovations, accounting, and 1 or 2 other ops
Acquisition,
people.
disposition app.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we have quite a few 1099 independent contractors that also work for us, from designers to stagers, contractors, handymen.
And that's, like you said, another 30 people or something on the construction
and
side?
20 plus crews, which is a couple hundred guys that work, and they're all contractors.
How do you guys manage all that?
We just got a new office on Miramar Road. Have you been there?
No, I haven't. I've seen pictures, though. It looks very nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
So the 12 people are in-house on Miramar Road, and the realtor team's in-house on Miramar Road also. And then project managers, project coordinators, and construction crews are buzzing around town
or wherever
all
they're
day.
at.
Yeah.
On the sites.
Yep.
How many projects do you guys have going at once?
Right now
Probably
we
on
have
average,
50
yeah,
listings.
at least 50, probably renovations too.
Yeah.
I mean, we call it controlled chaos because lots going on.
Yeah, a lot of
You
moving
show
pieces.
up, the amount of moving pieces, the amount of people running around, putting a fire out over here, trying to take care of acquisitions and these evictions here, trying to renovate these homes, the 29 homes that are in escrow that are currently being worked on for punch lists. I mean,
that's
a
the
lot.
good news, is that most of them are in escrow. Things
Yeah.
are sitting on the market, so there's not a lot active, which is great.
Are you guys seeing them sell pretty quick
Yeah, this
once they're
month.
done?
Right now.
Really quickly right
Yeah,
now.
really quickly.
One thing that I also think is really unique about you guys is that you work with family, which I think some people like and some people don't like. So I'm just curious how that dynamic works in the office, because it's your husband, your brothers, right? Like,
Yeah.
how is that dynamic at the office?
I think it has its pros and cons. I mean, every once in a while we yell at each other. We do. But it's all for the benefit of the company. And then outside of the company, we're family. So there's nothing personal. We've got a mission to accomplish every day, and we go in to get something done and to sell this many homes. Like right now we have 23 homes under contract that we have to close this month, and we have to get those running and moving. And to get that to happen, it's a lot. There's a lot of decisions that are made. There's a lot of different moving parts. And obviously there's going to be different opinions on how that's done. I think it's important that we have that, and it's important that we have that competition at work, but then have our personal life, it's personal. You know, it's Thanksgiving and it's Christmas. We enjoy the drinks, relax, and have a good time. But when you get to work, it's work, and we're competing, and it's fierce, and it's fun.
And you guys never have any blowout arguments? Because me and Sam have blowout arguments all the time, and we're not even related, so I'm just curious how
I have to step in here because he's being so modest with this.
All right, let's hear the real story.
They work together incredibly well. Like, he's saying, oh, we disagree, and we do. But the three brothers work so insanely well together, and I think it's because they're so different.
I was going to say, I think you guys all have different skill sets, which is a key.
Phil is here on a podcast and being expressive, and Phil can work quickly and make the big decisions and think big, and then Paul is introverted and an analyst, and like, we don't hear from him on the weekends. We don't know what he does. He kind of holes up. And then Mark is kind of like the people person, so he's really warm. He kind of feels on a more emotional level. So it's really impressive, actually, how all of them, they mesh really, really well, and they don't butt heads that much, I would say. I think it's awesome to see.
That's an interesting dynamic you guys have. And it is cool seeing you guys because you are all very different in terms of like personality and what at least it seems like you guys are good at.
They're
right?
opposites.
Like Mark, I couldn't have paid money to come and be on the podcast.
Oh, he literally
like,
told
I tried
me
many,
he would
many times.
shoot himself before he goes on a podcast. Yeah. I made Phil come.
Yeah.
He wanted to, but
good.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing great. What about, so I want to go back to the investor thing for a few minutes and kind of talk about how you guys are structuring things and how you recommend agents and or investors present their offers that might not be as high as someone would expect or be hoping for in terms of like getting them under contract.
We present all the benefits. So one, the deal can close in 3 days if you wanted to. Number two, it's cash, so you don't have to deal with all the complications that come with a loan. You know, the lender doesn't have to do an appraisal. They don't have to inspect it. We had a house just recently, it was fully renovated for Airbnb, and it had done great for Airbnb for a year or two, but it had a huge crack through the foundation. They tried to sell it on the open market 5 times. It fell out every time. The buyer was like, no way, we don't want this thing. The lender wouldn't loan on it, and they couldn't get it sold. And it was a beautiful home, other than the fact that it had some pretty bad foundation work. Homeowner couldn't sell it on the market. They gave up for 6 months.
Because they couldn't get a loan on it?
And no one could buy it. They couldn't get the price they want.
It's just scary.
They did some research, and it was, you know, over $100,000 to fix these 2 units. And it was a huge problem. They couldn't afford it. They didn't know what to do. They need to sell this property. And they ran into us. And we're like, hey, look, you know, we can take this on. We can handle this work. We're not afraid of it. When all the other buyers were very afraid, they told the seller, you had to fix it. We don't want anything to do with this. We have no clue what to do. And we said, no problem, we'll close in 7 days. And like, that's it? Like, you don't need to do inspections? We're like, no, this is what we do. I've done this 100 times.
Yeah.
And the homeowner just couldn't believe it. Like, well, we've been trying to sell this thing for 6 months, and every one of them fell apart. They need a loan, they need to bring inspectors in, and you're gonna give us a no contingent cash offer, and that's it? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard for them to believe. So I think in certain points when you're an agent and you've got a challenging situation, you present this kind of offer, it has benefits.
Yeah.
It really does. When you don't have any termite, you don't have any inspections, you don't have any contingencies, you have a seller that needs to move, whether they're going to go out of town for a job transfer or whatever the reason is, and they need a guaranteed offer that closes.
Yeah. I think that's the critical component, is the guaranteed offer.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you guys aren't closing, and you're closing fast.
Yep, and we'll cover closing costs too.
And what sort of situation are most of the properties you're buying in? Are they foundation type work, that just major work that you guys aren't scared of because you have the construction experience? Or is it like distressed, bankruptcy, short sale,
All of the above.
foreclosure stuff? Or
Uncooperative
is it a mix of everything?
Tenants that won't get out, people who have like a health crisis and need cash immediately, people who have a job offer out of state, have to move immediately. Major work on the house, so the roof is caving in, there's mold, there's fire damage, cracked foundation.
All kinds of situations, bankruptcies, divorces,
Tax
inherited.
lien.
I can't tell you how many out-of-state owners or heirs inherit a house and they just want this thing done. They don't want to have to sell it. They don't have to negotiate. None of the heirs can get along because they're all just counting that money. It's this big San Diego house. They just want to check yesterday. And they're not going to get along through the whole negotiation and inspection process. And the attorney's like fed up with them too. And you get a call saying, hey, can you guys just give us a cash offer at this price? And when we look it up, we do the numbers. We're like, yeah, we can make that work.
Wow.
Or if it's just not in showing condition for any reason, so there's stuff everywhere, or you have 27 dogs, or hoarder houses we've seen, anything where regular buyer would not want to walk in and just buy it. That's where we can come in. You don't have to show it.
Right. Or like the murder house you were talking about.
Yeah, we buy murder houses. Really difficult floor plans that are really unusual and old and just not open and beautiful and what people want. You know, we can take that house and literally scrape it down to the concrete and rebuild it and make it a beautiful modern home that you'd find, you know, built in 2020.
And that's just all factored into your guys' equation on making the numbers work.
Yep.
And those deals, are you finding those mostly off the MLS, or are these mostly off-market deals, or what's the mix on that, would you say?
Probably 50-50.
50-50.
We have lots of deals brought to us from agents, and we also find lots of them off-market through a whole network of attorneys and individuals we have and sellers that reach out to us. After a while, if you do the right thing and you treat people well and they learn that you can make it happen, you just start getting calls.
Yeah.
And it's really nice.
And being able to perform, I think, is the number one, right? Being able to perform, taking good care of people in the process.
Yeah.
And that's how you build a good reputation over time.
A lot from realtors too. About half of our business is from San Diego realtors. So we have 3 acquisition managers. You probably, do you know them? Noemi, Eric, and Javier?
Yeah. Shout out to them.
Yeah. They are basically in touch with the San Diego real estate community all day, every day. Noemi just got installed as the NAREP president. So those are the go-tos for agents. I mean, that's what they do all day, every day, is provide cash offers for agents to then go to their clients. And they would never interfere with their clients or reach out to the clients directly. It's always through the agent, then to the seller. So that's another really good way for agents to work with us. Is just
and that way you're able to get them before they're listed in most cases when an agent brings them like that?
That's ideal. We like to do really well for them and prove to them why they should just call us first. Sometimes people want to go to the market, that's fine. But if you hear of one that, you know, you get a call and the seller's like, well, I just don't know. I don't really want to show it, but I have to sell it. It's a perfect opportunity. Just call us. We'll give you the number, call them back and say, hey, I already have a cash offer for you. It's at $550K. Is it something that may or may not work? And then just let them talk. So sometimes it works. Works a lot, actually.
Lately, we've had a lot of situations where the seller's elderly and it's very difficult for them to either move and they don't really want to show it because every night, you know, 6, 7, when buyers can view homes, they got to come through.
Right.
And they're going to stampede through your house while you're trying to eat dinner. And these homeowners are like, I don't want to deal with any of this. You know, just bring me a cash offer. So the agent comes to us because they know we're reliable. They know our number's going to stick. And they go and they make the number work with the seller and we've got a deal.
And how much work are you doing on most of these properties?
Really varies. We do a lot, just total gut job remodels. So everything's new, the bathroom floor, paint, windows, everything. And then there's some that are kind of in between and they just need more of a spruce up. But generally speaking, we do a lot.
Yeah, it depends on the year build of the house. So if anything's from like 1910 to 1950, we're probably gonna have to redo everything. Plumbing, electrical, you name it.
Like the house you're sitting in, everything.
Yeah. I mean, every single thing. It's a brand new house, essentially.
Yeah.
If you're going over 1950, it's kind of just situational, depending on what it needs. And then anything over like 1980 is probably fine on electrical. They're good on plumbing. It's just more cosmetic.
We'll still inspect it, though, to make sure it's okay.
And then who's assessing like what it needs, right? Because I'm sure it's easy to go overboard on expenses and stuff like that. So who's, and how do they approach like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're not going to do this, when kind of looking at those properties, assuming it's after 1950 and you don't need to do a whole gut.
It's a great question. So it starts with our appraiser. He looks at what the comps in the area are going for and what the top selling homes have. So we're going to renovate that home that we're looking at to the top ARV comp in the area because that's what the market supports. And then when our construction guys go in there, like the GC who views the house, he's going to look at it and go, okay, based on the year and the 500 homes I've done in this neighborhood, I know that this plumbing probably needs to be replaced, and he creates a whole bid based on that, saying this is what it costs to get it up to this level. Then he sends that back over to our full-time appraiser who does all the analysis and numbers, pencils it, and gets back to him and says, hey, this is what we need 2 more things, or here are these 2 items you forgot. We probably need a new panel and this and a new roof. Then they come together, they coordinate, come up with that number and say, here's our offer. 0 contingencies, we'll close in 7 days, and it's guaranteed.
And so they're kind of cross-checking each other to make sure that everything's in line and fits in the box for you guys?
Yep.
And then what would you say in terms of how many offers you're making to contracts that you get, to deals you'll do?
Oh,
great
that's a
question.
good question.
Probably, it would depend on the channel, but I would bet with agents, maybe 1 out of 20. For every 20 offers they write, 1 of them goes through.
1 in 20 for the agent side. And then what about the distressed side?
Direct to homeowner?
Yeah.
Probably less, because we specifically target, pinpoint exact homeowners we know that are in a situation that need a cash offer immediately. So if your car just got repossessed and you're in a really tough time with credit card debt and you're right on the edge of bankruptcy and you need to sell the house, and then you get a call from us the next day saying, here's a cash offer, we can pay you in 5 days.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good offer. So
Definitely.
people are gonna be like, yeah.
Definitely.
Higher likelihood they need to sell.
Yeah.
How did you know?
Yeah, I know.
I want to get into that more because I think that's one of your guys' superpowers, is being able to get direct to those people. But before I get to that, I'm interested in how you guys are calculating your offer price. Is it, so you have the team assess, and then do you guys bless the numbers, or are you trusting them completely to work their numbers, the appraiser and the contractor team, and then they can just go?
Yeah, they can go ahead and go forward. We usually bless it prior to signing the final offer, just to make sure it's 100% good and we can close and we don't have to go back on what we're offering.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. After you do hundreds and hundreds of these, you get pretty
right.
good at
Yeah.
it.
Totally.
So I would say 97% of the time they're right on. But we have a few different checks and balances where a couple different people look at it just to make sure we're giving them an exact number that makes sense and we don't have to go back on it.
And how many offers would you say you're shooting out every month? Ballpark.
Wow.
Like how many
That would be difficult
numbers
to
we give
know
out?
because we have so many salespeople that are writing offers.
And not all of
Hundreds.
them are formal. Sometimes
Yeah.
an agent calls are just like, give me the quick number.
Right.
Write it.
Yeah, that's a
Kind
good
of like-
distinction. Let's talk about just the formal offers where you guys
Like
have
actually writing something
yeah,
up.
Yeah, it's gotten to you, you've blessed it, offer goes out.
Maybe 100?
Yeah, over
Maybe
100.
100 a month.
100 a month.
I'd say over 100.
To land at buying around 20 a month.
Still 20% conversion, that's pretty high.
A lot of those come from agents who are writing them up for us too.
Right. Because they know your process and they've worked with you in the past. And,
Yeah.
And they're comfortable.
They know they're double
partners.
ending the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the buyer and seller agent.
And do you guys always relist with the agent that brings you the deal?
We try to. Yeah, as long as the
try,
numbers
yeah.
work, we do every single time. Sometimes they understand, like, hey, this is a situation where we need you guys to be as competitive as you possibly can to the brink of where, you're willing to take it or you're just going to walk away.
Right.
And because of this whole, attorney or probate or whatever situation and at that point we get as competitive as we have, and they tell us we don't want the back end, we want you to be the best you can,
Yeah.
give us our number one offer, and that's what we do.
We've also been known to just kind of write them a check on the back end and just say we'll manage the listing in-house, the back end listing. If they don't want it,
Got it.
or there's just not enough juice, we'll just write them a check.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like that too.
So ideally, yes, you're giving them the relist, but in the scenario where you're 100K upside down, people need to figure something out.
Yeah, we try to.
Yeah, of
I'd say the
course.
majority of the time we do.
Where would you say is your best place right now that you guys are finding deals?
Best place that we're finding deals. Wow, I mean, everything works for deals.
Yeah.
There's no magic, oh, you wave this wand and you get deals. People ask us that all the time.
Right. And I think one thing that you guys are good at is you are doing everything. You're doing all of the channels and they all add up.
Yeah.
But I was just curious if you had more of a favorite or a low-hanging fruit or...
I think everything works. It just depends on how hard you work. So our best guys that put the most hours in and that are the most consistent are the ones that bring the most deals. And I don't think it's from any specific channel. It's just the fact that they work extremely hard and they never give up.
Yeah.
It's easy when you get a couple deals and you make a few checks to go take a nice vacation in Vegas for a few weeks.
Take 6 months off.
Exactly. We have independent contractors that do that. Yeah. The guys that sit there and every day are consistent and just grind and work hard, it doesn't matter what lead source they're going after, they're the ones who get the deals. And everything works. Notice of defaults, foreclosures, probates, divorces, and agents. Agents have lots of deals. If you're out there making 25 connections a day with agents, you're going to get a lot of deals. You're going to write a lot of offers, and it's going to work. There's no secret except for hard work.
Yeah, I like that. And when you're saying hard work, you're talking about your sales team that's closing these leads that are coming in? And then how many leads are you guys generating a month? Because I know it's a lot. Ballpark, how many leads are you guys?
Thousands.
Yeah,
Thousands.
over 1,000.
Yeah. I mean, we allow for so many online channels and direct mail. We do everything because everything works. Every single channel that you hear about where you can get deals, they all work. You just have to work them. And they're not deals you get tomorrow. Many times the follow-up took 18 months of literally, you'll go through the CRM and you'll see every single week there was follow-up. At the end of 18 months, the property value's gone up. Nobody's following up anymore because they gave up. And our guy's the last guy there and he ends up getting a really good deal. And people are like, how did you get that deal? Wow. He just worked really hard and he didn't give up and he deserved it.
Yeah, just shows persistence. Always pays off. Yeah. Always.
Yeah, there's no secret. I can't tell you how many times people ask us, like, what's your secret to success? Yeah. Working really hard, never giving up. That's it. Because it's not easy. You don't just send out a couple of mailers or make a few phone calls or door knock a few homeowners or call a few agents and get a deal. I mean, you've got to do it consistently over and over and over.
And as far as your targeting, because I know you guys do a lot of mail and stuff like that, how are you finding the people that you're targeting, or what are you looking for?
We target it based on like niche little areas like foreclosures. They have a great need to sell. Are there liens? Are there judgments? Was there a death on the property where it's like a probate or a trust sale or some sort of inheritance? Any reason why you need to sell? Birth, death, marriage, divorce. All the agents are familiar with those. Those are all reasons why somebody wants to sell. A job transfer. That's another reason. So we try to find motivation and target those. Vacant homes. How often does a home sit vacant in San Diego? And what's the likelihood someone wants to sell? It's actually 25%. So if you find a vacant home, it's great. It's actually really challenging normally to find who that homeowner is with the vacant home.
That was actually going to be my next question, because not only vacant homes, but there's also a lot, especially down by the coast, there's vacant lots everywhere. And so vacant lots, vacant properties, dilapidated looking stuff. What are your strategies on finding those owners?
Yeah, we jump online and you Google them first. And you'd be surprised nowadays how many people you can find from a Google or Facebook or some sort of social media platform they're part of, and their number's right there. And if not, then you skip trace them. You jump on the skip trace systems and you look them up and you find them. And sometimes you don't find them. You find a family member and you give them a call and you say, hey, I'm looking for the owner of this. Oh, that's my dad. Yeah, would you have any interest in selling? And then you get connected. It's just hard work. You got to go after.
So you're doing a lot of cold outreach.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And we used to do exactly what you just mentioned. Literally had people drive around and look for homes that looked run down. Yeah. Because if you can't maintain the front of your house, you might have a situation in which a cash offer might make sense. So we used to have an army of drivers who would go and find them, exactly what you were just mentioning.
And then you guys are, who do you use for skip tracing, or what does that process look like?
We use everyone. So from like Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, all the major ones, there's no one system that's the best. We've learned the more you use and the more you have access to, the better, because sometimes, John Smith is only on this one skip trace system A, and, Joe Smith is only on skip trace system B. So you got to kind of just do your due diligence and try to find them. Sometimes you only find them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook's the only place you find them, and there they are, and there's their number, and you just give them a call.
So we'll run the list, and then if you have like a 90% hit rate, then you have to run that extra 10% on a different skip trace, and then maybe even a third, and then maybe you're at 94 or 96%.
So you're getting an address, and you're running it through all these different systems to get as much data as you can on this person.
Yep.
and then just cold outreach.
Yep. And sometimes those systems
Mail,
don't even work.
calling.
You got to go find them on social media. And you just
Sometimes
send
you
them
have
a
to door knock
message.
them.
Sometimes they don't even answer the phone number, and it's right. But then you send them a message, a private message on Facebook, and they answer. It's
Like you're sliding in the DMs.
Yeah, it's really incredible. It's funny.
And it's working.
Yeah, social media has really changed.
Wow.
I think it's changed the way people communicate.
I think that's something that a lot of people would be intimidated to do. And I'm only guessing because you probably get a very wide range of reactions to messaging someone on social media about a property they own. How do you guys handle that? Or what's the approach?
I think it's very similar to reaching out to someone, whether you're door knocking, whether you're sending mailers to that neighborhood farming it as an agent, whether you meet people coming into an open house. You just ask them if they have any interest. Obviously, 9 out of 10 don't, right? They don't want to sell their house, but you're looking for that one. And when you find them, they're usually pretty motivated. They're like, wow, how did you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love for it. I was going to go look tonight.
Yeah.
To find somebody. So that's what you're searching for. So obviously 9 out of 10 aren't saying, yeah, I want to sell my house. You're trying to find that 1 out of 10 that's
And you
interested.
don't have to be super creepy about it and be like, hey, I'm trying to stalk you and now I'm sending you a message. You can just say, hi, it's so great to connect with you over X platform, over Facebook. I'm a local investor. I'm looking to pick up a few more houses. Do you have a house you might be interested in selling? It's, again, really nice to meet you.
So it's not
you don't
like,
have to make it super weird.
hey, I see you're the owner of
Exactly.
123 Pineapple Street and I want to buy it.
I mean, you could be that direct if you want to, but if you want to be a little bit more casual about it, just make it about you and what your goals are and that it's really great to meet them.
Yeah, it all depends on the style of the salesperson.
Yeah.
I think some people like being direct and
Some will just hit it hard.
Yeah,
some
some
will be
prefer
like,
Christie's
hello,
approach.
you want to sell this house.
Yep. And I think sellers will react differently. Some sellers won't like that direct approach. Some would prefer the one that Christie just offered. And that's why there's different sales guys and they get different deals. You mesh with different people. Same way a real estate agent will work with, a super analytical engineer who some of us would be like, oh my gosh, an engineer, this is going to be such a tough transaction. And someone else will work with, just a regular home buyer that's a first-time buyer that has all these questions, that needs all this information. Everyone's different.
And then are you rotating those leads? Like John's calling and he's a highly analytical. Do you give him a certain amount of time and then pass it to the next salesperson?
We do in some instances. I mean, it's really complicated how it works. Yeah, we have systems that hold them accountable. We actually have a full-time auditor that goes through and checks, and if a lead isn't responded to or reached out to within an hour or whatever the goal is for that certain department, it is removed and given to somebody else. So they are held accountable and they know that, and that does create urgency, and I think it helps them succeed, and they actually like it in the end because
it's amazing what happens when people know someone's watching.
Yes. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. And we have different campaigns with different sales agents with different styles on the different campaigns. So like the agents who do a lot of open houses might be different than the agents who get online inquiries might be different than the ones who are cold calling. So kind of based on their personality, our sales manager and Phil a lot of the time sort of assess them and talk to them about what each lead source entails and how to service them and how that kind of lines up with their workflow and work style. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting what you bring up about the personality styles, because I was talking to Molly yesterday, Winkle, shout out to Molly, and she said that you guys use something, I wrote it down, what the hell was the name of it?
Predictive index, probably?
Predictive index. And I was like fascinated by how you guys are using that. But it basically is a like personality style match.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
Matchmaking tool.
So in summary, what it does is it kind of assesses you. What are your strengths and what do you do in your natural state, who you are, your energy, that is easy for you to do and you have to exert the least amount of energy. Example, I'm extroverted. I love talking to people and working sales. Now, would I be the individual you sit down to read a book 8 hours a day? I could do it, but man, it would burn a lot of energy. I'd be really exhausted and I probably wouldn't stay around the job for more than a few months. So when you match that person up, like as a realtor, there's people that are really good at being a buyer's agent. They're really good at nurturing, that going over all those details, and those kind of individuals seem to do really well in open houses. On the other end, there's hunter agents that love to go get listings and they love to call expired listings. So when you kind of assess the individual, then help them and put them on a plan that best suits their style, and then hold them accountable and help them achieve goals, they have a much greater likelihood of success.
So I need to know more about this.
About PI? Yeah, you guys have awesome hiring at Big Block, hiring kind of best
We have a
practices.
really good hiring system, but we always talk about how important it is putting the right people in the right seat on the right bus.
Yeah, this tool would help you guys big time.
And so how does it work? Is it like a
It's incredible.
survey that they do?
Yeah, there's 2 tests. So the main one is kind of like the behavioral assessment. I think it took maybe 10 minutes. It's pretty quick. And you just click on the adjectives that you would say describe yourself. So how you describe yourself, then how you'd say others describe you.
Okay.
And then it does its algorithm and it gives you one of, I think, 16 kind of personality types. And from there, you can figure out what kind of jobs are best suited for that personality type. So now we use it really carefully for hiring. And after our phone screens, we give them the PI, and then based on their results, we proceed with an in-person interview, or we don't because we trust it that much.
Wow.
Yeah, and it has a second assessment, a cognitive score that tests them on ability to adapt and how they can handle change and stress and a lot of other factors in the workplace. And it's really interesting when you assess these people and then you can put them in the right area, how much better you can guide them towards success. I think you guys will benefit from a lot. It's a lot better than a lot of the traditional, like the Myers-Briggs or the DISC. We found it to be much more accurate, and we can help individuals do a lot better when they join our company because we set them on the right trajectory, exactly what they're good at. And
I love that.
Oh, it also really helps you write job descriptions. So you set a target PI for a job you're hiring for. So you want them to have these characteristics.
Right.
And it computes it and spits out a job description, a generic one. It doesn't know what job you're actually hiring for. But then you can use that verbiage. So when you're hiring, you can say, this position is someone who works well in a warm, stable, nurturing, and supportive environment. So you start to use keywords that appeal to the person that you're trying to attract.
That's awesome. So you're already speaking their language.
Yeah, so you wouldn't say this is an aggressive, fast-paced company, fast-growing, etc., because they're gonna be like, oh gosh, I don't know. But then if you're hiring for a sales shark, that's the verbiage you use, and it gives you description. So I just wrote one yesterday. You kind of copy and paste it, and then you tailor it to the job that you're actually looking for. But when these people read the job description, if it's the right match, they should almost cry. Like they should be like, that is my dream job. That's my dream job. I have to have this job.
the last batch of interviews we did, the amount of people that came to us like, you just spoke exactly to me. Those words just described me. And I'm so assertive. I'm goal-oriented. And we knew that because the person we were hunting for was that exact personality.
They matched.
That attributes those words, those descriptions to who they are. So we built that into the ad, and they read it. They're just like, it just spoke out to me out of everything that I read in every job.
It's amazing.
So we just saw a whole different talent pool. We could actually raise the standards so high on the hiring that we'd never seen candidates like that before.
It's crazy.
It was incredible. We didn't know what to do. We had to turn it off because we had like 300 candidates in a week or two.
Oh, wow.
For our most recent position.
We just hired 15
We were
salespeople 2
overwhelmed.
weeks
We
ago,
didn't know what to do.
Which is our by far biggest class ever.
We had to raise the standards, and we ended up getting just A+ grade candidates.
That's great. What a great tip. And then how does it work? It's like a fee per test or a monthly service?
It's annual, right?
Annual fee,
Annual fee.
Annual. And it's just like a software or something?
Yeah, it's pricey. And they send out like a rep to onboard you. It's like a different language. It's not, I wouldn't say it's intuitive, but once you know it, you know it. I'm medium at it. Phil and Eric are really, really adept. Yeah, they're kind of.
I can imagine.
They geek out on this. Just the value is incredible.
Yeah, to find the perfect people.
Use it, but you guys are really very
It's incredible.
into it.
For me, the value I've never seen, and I recruited for years for a Fortune 500 company. I mean, we built retail, door-to-door, call center teams by the hundreds. I've never seen a product work like this where we're getting this kind of talent pool that's so accurately matched to the job. So it really just blew us away.
Man, I'm ready to sign up.
Yeah, we love it.
You guys have an affiliate link?
We don't actually. It's just that good, but we should.
It takes the subjectivity out of hiring.
Totally.
So you can be whoever you want to be for an hour in an interview, but who are you really? Because they don't know what the test is kind of gauging. They don't know what answers we're looking for. It's just be honest. It's what do you think about yourself?
And I love the idea of
it's hard to
tailoring
game
the
it.
job ad to the personality style.
Yeah, Phil and I worked on that yesterday morning. It's tricky to think about like what is our avatar person, who would succeed in this role, and then you model it after them.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what's it cost? Did you said it's a yearly thing?
Yeah, it's not cheap. It was 10 grand total.
10 grand? Like 10 grand.
10K a year?
The first year might have been more though, because they had a lot of onboarding for like 4 days in person.
But they say a bad hire, the cost of a bad hire is 30% of their first year.
Yeah.
So you figure
It really is too.
Yeah.
When you
better
think
than
of-
one bad hire.
That's how we feel.
Totally.
Yeah.
We'd pay 10 times as much, but we don't want to tell them that.
Yeah.
The value is just
I
incredible.
haven't signed up yet.
Yeah.
You can even use it for your existing team too, to make sure that they, obviously you know pretty well how they fit because they exist, but can you tweak the job? Can you
Right.
tailor it in any little way to make it more line up with who they are?
Yeah. Or if you want to move someone up, making sure that they're a real fit for whatever position you had in mind to move them up.
It does that too. It shows the people that are capable of management and those that would have a harder time managing just based on your natural personality.
Very
you guys
cool.
should get it.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out for
Okay,
sure.
cool.
I was very intrigued, like I said, when Molly brought it up the other day. You said something a second ago about your agent onboarding process is just as strict as the one that you built out for the team, for your in-house team. What does that mean exactly? Like when you're training new agents that you guys bring on the real estate side?
Yeah, we teach them everything from physically going into a vacant, beautifully renovated home like this, and how do you greet people that walk into an open house? You know, our standard for agents is 9 out of 10 people that walk into your open house, you should have their information so you can contact them and you reach out to them. That is if they don't already have an agent, they come in by themselves. You know, how do you do that? When you're calling homeowners, how do you connect with them? How do you create a relationship? How do you provide value and then follow up and end up getting the business from them?
It's basically like a 2-week intensive. So they go in our conference room led by our sales manager, Eric, who is awesome. And he has it totally structured out. So it's like an hour of open house training. It's an hour of script work. Then it's an hour of role playing. Then it's lunch break all together. Then it's the entire team comes in and they do a sales training for 2 hours. So what we used to do was we would bring people on. We hired okay. We didn't use a PI, but we found decent people through our marketing channels. We bring them on. We kind of piecemeal train them over the course of a week or two. But it was not systematized and it was just disheveled. And it led to this feeling of like, I'm on this team, but I don't really know what I'm doing and I don't know who to ask and I'm overwhelmed. So now we found that to give people a really fair crack at success in this really tricky business, you kind of have to handhold them for the first at least 2 weeks and show them every single thing. Everything has to be laid out. They're going to do it together. So not only are you being talked at, you're then doing it as a group. So yesterday, I don't think I even told you, but after Mark got the program software stuff up and running yesterday, they were already on it and setting appointments together. The new hires that we brought on like a week and a half ago, I think they set 3 appointments yesterday afternoon in their first time being together. So they're not just like launched into the world anymore and just told like, here's your chair and figure it out. We kind of do it in like a kind of like sorority and fraternity onboarding style. So like cohorts. So this is our winter cohort of 15 agents. We've been doing it kind of quarterly. So we'll be doing like our spring cohort in a few months. And they're a tribe. So they're friends, they're buddies, and they support one another and they learn together. So we found that works a lot better than taking people on kind of like one at a time in a really haphazard way.
That's really cool. I like that. I like the fraternity sorority example because it's perfect. It's like your rush class.
Yeah,
It's essentially what it is.
It's what it
I mean, they all sit
is.
next to each other. They all work together. They all call at the same time. They share their own wins and their own losses together. If someone screams at one of them, they share the story with everyone and they laugh about it. When someone signs a deal on their second day, which happened, which is crazy, it's just a testament to how the process is working and the training is working. They all share it together and then it motivates everybody.
So important for everyone
wants
else to see. And we're having a team event in my backyard in like a week and a half where everybody's going to come. There's like a Jenga and cornhole tournament and it's a $500 gift card to the winning team of each sport.
Serious.
And you don't get to pick your partner. We're going to draw names. So you're a partner. So you have to work with someone you probably don't know and figure out a way to win $500 with them.
And these are classroom style trainings or they're watching videos?
It's
Combination of
classroom
everything.
style,
Role play, classroom, on the job, outside. We kind of mix
And this
it up.
is the first 2 weeks of when they start?
Yeah, it can go longer sometimes too. It just depends on what we're training. We just switched our CRM. We switch our software every other month. We're always trying to stay on top. We're always trying to have the biggest and the best. So the one thing we really, really emphasize at our company is the only constant is change. You know, we want to stay on top. We want to stay on top of Zillow and everybody else. And to do that, you have to constantly be changing and evolving.
And innovating.
So we teach that from the very get-go. Like, you've got to understand one of our core values, innovation. You just said it. Something we hire. We want people that come on board to understand that there is no constant here. The only constant is change. And we're going to continually grow, and we're going to continually set you on a trajectory that allows you to be successful. But that's going to involve changing and getting outside of your comfort zone. And I think the team immediately notices, like, wow, I was blown away. I had no idea you guys have all these systems, all this software. It's so much, I don't even know how to handle it. But the more you train on it, the more you coach, the more you give them videos.
I think that's the fun part of being in call it like a small company. Like, there is no red tape. There is no board. I mean, we can make these decisions in a meeting, or Phil can call me after this podcast when we're driving back to the office and be like, I think we need to do these 3 things. And then within a week, they're done. You know what I mean? So you can kind of be agile and nimble and adapt. And I think you guys have done a really good job of that too. Kind of like keeping your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, for sure. Super important.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of people and a lot of moving pieces. How are you holding everyone accountable to doing what they're supposed to be doing?
So there's a lot. We have a point system, which is positive. So obviously you want to earn points towards awards and prizes and gifts.
And what are some things that you
points
get points
can come
for?
from any kind of prospecting.
Closing,
talking
signing
to
a deal,
agents, talking to sellers,
holding
talking
an
to
open
clients,
house.
holding an open house. Anything you're doing that's positive that can reward in more business earns you points. On top of that, any deal that you sign and close earns you even more points, because ultimately that's the goal, is to...
This is on the sales side,
Yeah.
of course. Also,
This is
the
all
sales
sales.
manager holds accountability sessions every other week. So the sales team is clumped together with people who are kind of like a similar work style, I would say, who have
personality.
similar challenges and similar wins. They come together with the sales manager for an hour every other week and basically dive into it. So what did you accomplish? What were your wins? What were your losses? How can we help each other? How can I help you? So those are people who mesh well together and work well together too. So that's on all the sales.
There's also accountability
And
there.
what do
Like,
they get for their points?
anything from a t-shirt branded this to any kind of prize or gift
But I mean,
card,
is there like
money.
a catalog, like 5,000 point gets you this?
We should.
Or like
We talked
whoever
about
gets the
different
most
stuff.
points each
Gift
month
cards,
wins
yeah,
or whatever.
books, they have all kinds of
Yeah, they win a
stuff.
lot of like books and like alcohol, honestly. But the most valuable thing in our company is the levels and the layers of campaigns, I would say. So the best thing we can like award you with is to be promoted to being on a higher level of campaign. Does that make sense? So going more from like hitting the pavement outbound stuff, once you prove yourself and prove that you work hard, you're then sort of graduated into
warmer leads,
lower level inbound stuff, and then really high level inbound stuff where the motivation is so high, but you have to be really sharp at your skill set. That to us is the best way that we can thank you or show you that.
Yeah, it's killer.
Yeah.
And it takes a good
It takes
12
time.
months, even for a superstar, to get to our highest tier, for us to trust you with that kind of level. I mean, because some of the marketing we spend on this, people wouldn't even believe what we spend on this. I mean, 6-figure money on some of this marketing. So you have to prove yourself over and over and over to be consistent, reliable, and
To
solid.
get the good one.
To get to the top level.
And even
Because
once
that
you're there,
top
you're
level,
audited every day.
Yeah, you're audited on an hourly basis. I mean, because we know that these leads are money, and you need to be signing 1 out of 10 of them. And they're difficult still. There's still 4 other competitors every single time. So you've got to be a terrific closer, a chameleon, someone who understands, the individual you're working with, whether they're an analytical, whether they're a driver, whether they're an expressive, and you can immediately mesh with them, create value, and win. I mean, we're not going to give someone that they haven't already done 100 deals, because they're just not going to be good enough to compete
it
at
makes
that level,
total sense.
and they're going to fail.
Totally.
So I mean, a lot of these agents, their goal is to get up to that level, because when you're at that level, you're never making under $250,000 with us. You're killing it. So you've got a lifestyle where you don't have to take any risk. Our 2 top guys are trying to make $500,000 this year, and you have inbound leads
All day.
all day, and you're trying to make
Every day.
$500,000. I mean, it's really, it's the gold.
Yeah.
It's what everybody
And
wants.
how many levels are there before you get to that
Like
level?
5.
Like 4 or 5, yeah.
Wow.
So you start out outbound. We got to see that you got the grit and you put in the time and you're full time. And
The beauty of outbound is if you're good, you can go in there and you can absolutely kill it still.
You can beat the inbound guys if
you can
you're
beat
really
it. You're really good. We have someone right
Just
now
takes more
who's
time.
beating everybody. It's like,
I know.
we couldn't even believe it.
I know,
Just
one
came
of
on
our
board,
newer guys
crushing our whole team.
already has 12 signed deals. It's what? Like the second week of February
In how long?
in this year.
Oh, wow.
2020.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
Dang.
Unbelievable.
2 deals a week
like
he's
70,
signing,
80,
yeah.
I don't know, 100,000 in commissions or more already in the first month.
And we have people just on his toes too.
And the rest, all the other guys are got a little stagnant. You know, they're like, okay, let's bring it.
And so he gets to move up quicker than everybody
Oh,
else.
he's already moved up to the second to the
fast-tracking.
highest level. Yeah, but the thing is, he's so good at just outbound, he's still happy with it. So it's
Because
really
he can always fall
incredible.
back on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, if you can prospect, you can.
Everything works. If you work hard and you're good, everything works.
I like that you keep saying that. Because I think a lot of people don't really understand that. They're looking for like, oh, these guys do 200 homes a year. Like they must have a secret thing or they must have a magic hack. But basically it just sounds like you're very well organized, systems, accountability, and great people, and you're just working your asses
And it's
off.
crazy because we have so much room for improvement. Like you just put us on a total pedestal that I don't even know if we deserve. You know,
We have so much room. Our
we work
goals-
hard and we're young and we're hungry,
Yeah.
but we're not perfect and we're not the best of the best. And we're in a mastermind where there's people that are like levels above us. So I don't know. I feel like we're just getting started. But thank you.
Yeah.
Flattering.
Well, you're San Diego's #1 home buyer.
That's
so
true. That's cool.
I don't think that's anything to sneeze at.
That's true.
Well, congratulations on all your success either way.
Thanks.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the marketing side of things because I know that you're really good at that. I know that you and your brothers kind of geek out on the data side of things and data stacking and all of that stuff. So can you speak first on how you guys are stacking data to get these, you know, maybe there's multiple distress points that they're going through and how those people are rising to the top or how you're finding them?
Sure. I would say the first thing that is the biggest in all the data is motivation. You know, someone who's motivated, let's say there's distress, you know, you have a notice of default on your home, you're not able to afford your home, that's pretty good likelihood you might need to sell. Maybe it's 20%. Now you couple that with the husband and the wife aren't getting along and there's a divorce, well, that increases it now probably 3x. There's a 60% likelihood you need to sell. Couple that with the husband is the only one who's working, so the wife relies on his income, and she can't support herself, and she's going to want some money when she leaves. Maybe you now have an 80% likelihood that they're going to need to sell. Well, that's the one we're going to give a call.
Yeah.
Because when you're calling someone that has an 80% likelihood, you've got really good odds. So we've noticed that there's certain data sets that are much more successful than others. And we target those to a point where we've got so granular in just data that we have a data scientist team that actually calculates 800 different reasons why you're likely to sell, puts it into a very advanced algorithm, and gives us that data, and that's what we target. So when you get that granular, you find really motivated people that nobody else finds. Many times they're like, how did you find me?
By stacking up the pain points.
I never got a call before, like.
And then after they're quarterly, and then after the quarter, he sends everybody else that was on the list that sold, but not to us. So we get to see how we lost.
Who beat us every time?
Who
Why
beat
did we
us and
lose?
why did we lose and how do we miss them?
That's good.
Essentially proving that his data works. We just didn't win. We didn't win those ones.
And you just see how many deals there are. I mean, people are like, why do you tell what you guys do? Why do you give away? Because there's just that much opportunity for everybody.
Right.
We're less than 1% of the market. There's that many deals out there. Everyone can do well. There's plenty of opportunity. You know, if you're willing to work hard and hustle and go out there.
Yeah, it's not easy like it used to be. You can't just go to the courthouse, throw out a couple offers, pick up a property, and go home, right? Now you've got to actually do your due diligence and run all the data points. And how are you doing that? You said a data science team. Is that in-house? Is that
No, that's
like a service?
Yeah, that's an outbound group we use. But I mean, we have probably 28 different types of data we access and use. All the major data providers, the 4 big ones nationwide,
Which
we access
are?
their data. The 4 big companies are, let's see, there's Atom Data, there's Black Knight, there's CoreLogic, and there's First AM. And they all provide data, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
So when you start to access it and you start to learn and then kind of leverage, they can get a higher percent of these people that have equity over here, but there's vacants here, and you kind of master, these are out-of-state owners that have owned for this long, but then there's distress over here, and target these certain areas. You start to see success. And there's no magical secret. You just got to test it and work it.
And when you're looking at all that data, are you uploading a list and running it through those 4 providers, or are you buying lists from them of
combination of
people
both.
that have this, and this going on in San Diego? Or
it's a combination of both.
Okay.
And there's list stacking software where you can kind of calculate so many factors if they have this much equity, or they can actually sell to you, and there's this stress over here. There's so much to kind of calculate, and there's no way to figure it out except to learn.
Trial and
In our
error.
first year or two, man, we burned a lot of money just learning and got no results. So it's definitely not an easy path. I think
and who's the data stacking software you said you use?
Property
List
manager.
Property list manager?
So you can upload like 10 different CSV files, and it'll tell you 75 of these have 4 data points that are in common. So you can say, okay, I want people that are on at least 3 lists, or at least on 2, or at least on 1. It'll tell you how many. So obviously at least on 1 is all of them, but.
Cool.
It's
So
just
you
a really
can-
cool software. One of our buddies.
Yeah, and you can base your budget around it.
Yeah, one of our buddies who's an investor just created himself.
Yeah. Well, it seems
It's
like
hard to do on Excel.
seems
Yeah.
very smart,
Yeah.
smart tool to create.
Yeah.
Totally.
Especially if you want to keep your costs down and you only want to mail people that exist on multiple lists, because mail's expensive.
Right.
Call it 50 cents a piece. Then you can use that to hit people who are on multiple lists. Yeah.
So you're running all this data, you're stacking it all in the software, then what happens next? You're getting, like how many come out the back end?
Depending on what type of lead source. A couple hundred to 100,000. It just depends on the lead source, the algorithm to how we came up with it.
Okay.
And at that point,
And you're just constantly tweaking that, see
we're always testing new stuff.
Yeah.
We just tested where we hired like 20 drivers to drive all the neighborhoods in San Diego and just we called it driving for dollars. Mm-hmm. Just get homes that were kind of ugly or distressed, or they didn't keep up the maintenance outside, and just go after them. Picked up 3 or 4 deals from doing that.
Right.
So from there, like
everything
you
works.
said, you have the clean list based on how you want to filter it down. Then we have the team cold call it. We used to have people who door knock it, or the most motivated people. We don't do that as much anymore. The team's kind of leaning towards calling,
It still works though.
but it still works.
He took me out of this market today, and he threw me over in San Francisco, and I had no money, I had nothing. I can tell you right now, I could go get 5 deals a month just door knocking, notice of defaults, going there and doing it. It works. That's how I started when I had no money and no resources. I just went and door knocked and introduced myself to homeowners and provided value. So I guess I keep saying everything works.
Yeah.
It just depends on what you like and your style and what works for you.
Yeah.
We've gotten to a point where we've kind of honed it on these crazy data sets, because we've realized if we could provide this much data to the team, they can go after it. I mean, me, myself, could I go after all the data? No way, there's way too much of it. Totally. But if you have an army that wants to go after deals and call and
then when you're buying that data, is that coming with phone numbers and emails, or are you then skip tracing that list
Usually
to get
have
all
to
that
skip trace
info?
it.
Yeah, I have to skip trace
Yeah.
it. And we test skip trace systems. I mean, all kinds from we have A, B, C, and D skip trace systems. We're always constantly testing. We'll run the data on A, the next month we'll run it on B, the next month we'll run it on C, and we go, wow, look how well C performed. Sales guys are like, what is this? This is the best ever. We're talking to everyone. Okay, we noticed that
Or this one sucked.
Yeah, this data set works really well with C, but then we try C with the next set, and they're like, this is horrible. Now I gotta go to D. So it's just a constant game of just getting granular and just figuring out what works. And sometimes it changes. One gets better than the other because they had a new database they pull from. I mean, it's really, really detailed.
And who's
it's
staying on top of
constantly
that?
changing.
We have the 3 admin.
The whole team.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like who goes after the
Yeah.
data? The sales team. But like who pulls the data? The
no,
admin
more
team.
like who's in charge
Who's
of
learning about all the new sources?
Yeah,
Me.
and
I'm always
tweaking
out
and
there
adjusting and-
meeting with some new guy in the middle of nowhere.
Phil loves finding the new
Trying to find out
lists
what's
and
working
new
and what doesn't,
software.
and
It changes all the time.
Changes monthly.
I can
all the
imagine.
time.
And the amount of bad decisions I make are much greater than the good ones. Like 3 out of 4 times is like, man, Christie's yelling at me, what a waste of our time. Why did you take us down that rabbit hole? But then that's what you do, because then you find the gem. And when you find the gem, it pays for itself, and you're like, wow, this was gold.
I mean, what he's getting at is he finds the visionary ideas, and then they get dumped on my desk, and then I punch him, and then I do it. Pretty much.
Yeah.
That pretty much is how it goes. Much like you and Sam.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
and Sam's dynamic.
Yeah, sounds about right. I can relate. Very cool. So now you're also sending mailers to this data set.
All data sets.
And then
anything you can think of in this market, we send a mailer to.
how
we
many
send them
mailers are you
in-house
guys sending a
and-
month?
Hundreds of thousands.
Depends on the month.
Hundreds of thousands.
Lately, it's been a little bit less than that, but at least 50,000 a month.
And then how many pieces do you send to each person or each house?
Depends on the data type.
Okay.
So like the most
So is the message
common-
always different and tailored directly?
Depends on
And-
the data type.
So there's 2 trains of thought with that. You can either hit them with the same type of mail piece because then it shows consistency and they're like, oh my God, I've gotten 10 pieces from this guy. I'm just going to call him. Oh my God, go away.
Right.
And then the other mentality is, well, you don't know what's going to work for each person. So you have to hit them with different things because everyone responds differently. So we kind of do a mix of the 2.
Certain data types react better to the same message over and over, and certain respond better to a certain variety. Like you send them a customized letter and they're like, wow, you just spoke to me.
Yeah.
Or now you sound like a big company, and you showed your website and everything else. So we wanted that. We wanted someone we could trust. And we looked up all your reviews and we saw you guys are the highest rated.
Yeah.
So we gave you a call.
We have a couple dirty mail pieces though. We have one with a Post-it note on it, and it's like you guys have done, and it's like tilted sideways, and it looks handwritten, and it says like,
Love those.
gosh, what does it say? It says like, call me ASAP with a happy face or something like that. We have one that has like a perforated check on the bottom that looks very real.
Like a check you're actually getting
Nice.
mail with your
Yeah.
$150,000
Yeah.
check. Go cash it. And you look
Yeah,
at
it has
it's
their name on
it's
it.
got the watermark on it. This looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's designing all these pieces for you guys?
Oh, it just depends. It comes from
Is it like a mail house, or you
friends,
guys do it in house?
investors.
Usually the ones that mail
in-house.
houses have aren't so good.
Yeah, that's what we've
Great.
noticed as
And
well.
it's like everyone else sends it, so it's a lot better if you custom
It's overused.
make them.
Yeah, if you build your own, it's better. Like we found, we actually had to build it, or one of our friends did, a handwritten font that has like 20 different A's. You know, it's so unique and so legit, and it's written with a pen that presses more and less ink at certain times. So like every A is different.
So it looks really, really
It's
real.
There's
can't
no
tell.
way you could ever tell the difference. You can't.
Yeah.
It is truly handwritten. And when you get a letter at that level, people kind of look and they go, wow, this really is.
Someone
It
wrote
really
this
is.
for
This
me.
is really to me, Oliver. Wow. I guess they went up by my house and they call. Your letter just looked, wow, you guys wrote it right to me.
Yeah.
So it's little differences like that do matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just taken years to perfect them.
And I'd imagine that's a benefit of being in like Collective Genius, where you can talk to all the other investors about what's working for them, share the mail piece ideas, and because I know those guys are sending out some crazy stuff too.
Yep.
So
We're
just-
always testing.
Yeah.
And 3 to 4 of them don't work. And you realize they don't, and you went on a wild goose chase, but you're searching for that one that does.
And what do you consider not work? Just low response rates?
Yeah, you get a lower response rate or success than you did with your other mailers that you currently have.
And you're tracking that on every mailer and all the stuff you do?
Yeah, especially we're doing it in we're getting a new CRM, so that's going to help with tracking.
built in
Right now
there.
it's hard because we've mailed like hundreds of different letter types to hundreds of different data sets. So Phil's always like, what's the metric? What's the metric? I'm like, there's 1,000 of them to calculate. The new CRM is just like input in, input out. So you say, how much did it cost? What piece did you use? And then it tracks it all the way through. Like, was there an appointment? Did they call? Was there an appointment? Was it signed? And then what's the profit versus me like with a calculator?
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
What
building
CRM is that?
custom software.
Podio.
Oh, good.
So we're
Cool.
basically customizing it from the very get-go with 5 different software engineers that are literally linking every aspect of our business to one CRM, from
Yeah.
ops to finance to HR to even project management to all of marketing and sales. So like right now we have like 150 different phone numbers that we track for each mailer piece. And it's all going to be in there, and it's going to calculate KPIs and returns and performance and how quickly you answer, and you know how much follow-up time it took till a deal was signed, how much money was made from that deal. So it gets so detailed that you have numbers on a level that you couldn't calculate with an Excel spreadsheet. It's just too advanced.
It's too hard.
You guys are going to
Takes too much
have
work.
extreme clarity on.
We need
Everything.
that. I mean, we have a feeling on what works and we know the profit on what works, but to get more granular is really, really hard when we have it so piecemealed. So to have it more of an all-in-one solution is going to be key. So that was actually like a fail for us, was having so many pieces of software that don't talk to each other. And like, I'm pretty good with Zapier. I can connect things, but it's just not perfect, you know? So we're working on it.
And then something changes and then it breaks and then your whole thing's screwed.
All the time.
So you guys are building your own.
It takes years to build it.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it's a constant evolving process. It never ends. So anyone we know that's built this custom has never stopped.
Yeah, it
So
never
it's
does
a-
stop.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Even the
you
current one.
someone will be like, oh, couldn't you just add this?
Yes.
Oh, it'd be better if it just did this.
Yep.
And then all
Every
of a
day,
sudden,
this
Totally.
broke, this malfunctioned. Like it's a forever
never-ending
thing.
story.
So what Mark said yesterday is like, I feel like I'll never wipe my hands clean of this, because he's kind of handling the build out.
Yeah.
I was like, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, you
you
never
will
will.
never wipe your hands clean
Yeah.
of it. You just nailed it.
That's your
So,
other baby.
Totally. Yeah.
What are you guys doing now to grow?
Now we're always looking for new opportunities. We recently stayed at an Airbnb, and we just sat there and we looked at it and we looked at the cost of what we paid, over $1,000 a night. We looked at the cost of what the house cost, and we're like, wow, this is a great business. So we've jumped into Airbnbs, and it's a great business. We've now further jumped into property management, managing of them. Looked at even other venues and aspects of the businesses out there. We've seen assisted living. We've looked at multi-units, a lot of stuff, just because there's so many other opportunities. Once you have a construction crew and you have systems built over here and you understand this,
Right.
it only takes a little bit more to add this new business in. Yeah, this new arm to the business, and it's successful because we've already spent years building up all the other channels that are needed to make it successful. So we've kind of turned down 9 out of 10 great ideas, which I know could have been profitable, but we've taken on the ones that would take the least amount of effort and give us the greatest return for obviously time. It's all about the time value of money when you look at opportunities.
And to add to that, the real estate team and the flipping business are really like core businesses, and the offshoots on that, I mean, you have so many economies of scale. So like, just to give you a couple examples, like a house that works as a flip probably works as an Airbnb. So then it just becomes, how do I finance it? How do I hold all of these properties as Airbnbs? So that's a really easy adjustment. It's just a lending financial adjustment, and then you're building your portfolio because we're going after these flips anyway. Another example is when people call, or callers call, a lot of times they're told, oh no, I'm happy, I have a tenant in place, I'll never sell. Say, okay, great, thank you, good luck, and have a great day. Well, the next iteration of that is, oh, awesome, what do you charge for rent? Are you happy with your property manager? Oh, what does he do to get, eyeballs on your home when it's vacant? Tell me about it. What company is that? And some people aren't going to be happy with it, and then you have an opportunity to sell them on property management. We can pay the team whatever, $200 or whatever for teeing up that opportunity, and then there's your client. So there's just these offshoot arms that aren't that much work above.
They're already in your wheelhouse.
Yep.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's been so much blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point that it feels like less hard to get the others off the ground.
Because you're really providing them a value. A lot of these homeowners and landlords that have owned these properties for decades haven't even raised the rent. So you ask them what they're getting, you're like, $1,500. You look at Zillow and it says, or Rentometer or whatever site you've used, and it says market value is $2,500. You're going,
It's probably my
I can add a ton of value for you.
Yeah.
Let me show you. And they're just like, they can't believe it.
Yeah.
So we choose ones where we know we can add value and we can really help out the client. And of course, be profitable and make money.
Of course. What do you like about the Airbnb opportunity?
We love that it's passive residual income.
Okay.
That one day we can be sitting on an island in the Bahamas collecting a check. Because ultimately we love what we're doing. We're young, we're ambitious. I work way too many hours. I think I worked 12 hours yesterday, but I'm having a great time, so it's not even work. But I think one day, maybe 20 years from now, I might not want to work 12 hours a day. So the beauty of the Airbnb or any rental model, any passive income model, is that you can be in the Bahamas and you're still earning money. And that asset's growing. And one day you're going to pay it off.
And then is your goal to own the properties, or is it to own and run property management for the ones that you can't own?
Yep. So we're buying them all and we're holding them. And as everybody knows, San Diego only goes up. You know, if you go back every 10, 20 years, a century, you can see that it's almost doubled every 15 years here in San Diego.
His brother said a really funny thing last week. He was like, we would have done better just buying and holding all of the properties and never flipping them. He's like, we would have made more in equity.
He's that detailed and analytical. He sat and penciled and he's like, if we would have just never sold a property ever, we'd be way better off today than we are. Which is kind of insane when you think about it.
And he calculated it with hard money numbers too.
Yeah.
So like the financing's really expensive for like, oh my
That's
God.
how good.
For how much work it is and how much.
We should have never sold a home.
Oh God. I know, isn't that sick? Can't
Isn't
think
that
about that
crazy?
very
Selling
much.
hundreds of homes, you should have never sold
That's
a home.
disgusting.
Should have never sold a home for a 10% profit. You should have held on to it.
Damn.
That's really crazy when you think about it. So there's just so much opportunity in holding property here in California, and the market's going to continue going up. Right now we have the lowest inventory we've seen in 20 years. We're seeing price increases already, and we've gone to 2 or 3 different presentations with top analysts that the iBuyers, the hedge funds, everyone's employing, and they've showed us a trajectory up to 2027 that we have a ton more in this upcycle. Yeah, we're probably going to see a financial recession in the next couple of years. It's coming. But I don't think it's going to heavily affect real estate like it did back in '08 when it was just devastating. You know, the majority of people this time around bought a loan they could actually afford. It's not easy to get a loan.
No, it's
You know,
way
how much trouble
harder.
you go through.
Oh my God.
bought a house.
Lenders do not like how my income is structured.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
really challenging.
Especially for real estate folks.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
brutal.
You're not getting a home that you can't afford. Unlike with these crazy stated income loans last time, you could have just put any number you want to make $1 million.
Yeah.
Great, here's the paper.
Negative
Here's the house.
amortization.
Exactly. Today it's like, man, they're getting every little detail from you to a point where you want to kill them by the end of the transaction, and you're not even sure if you're going to get this house, and you finally get it, you're like, oh, I don't want to do that again for another century.
Totally.
So people who have homes today have ones they can afford. And if you look at the DTI in the back end, they actually can afford these homes, even if they took a 5 or 10% wage reduction, which could happen in a financial recession. Yeah. You know, and you look at, there's not going to be that many foreclosures. It's not going to be as devastating as it was last time, to a point where a lot of these financial guys are predicting that you may be able to stay neutral through the market. Real estate may be one of the better tickets to be on.
In terms of offsetting?
Yeah, it may be the driver that takes us out. I mean, we don't know. So we feel really positive. We're going to obviously get a little bit more conservative as we see those numbers start to come, maybe towards the end of this election year. Could be the start. But we feel really positive. If you look at all the projections up to 2027, we've got a good run. You know, we've got a healthy market for the first time in a long time that was built on.
And why do they think that is? Is it interest rates or is it?
We actually bought homes we all could afford. Last time, if you look at it, all everyone did was keep trading up on really fake equity.
Yeah, cash out refis everywhere, and
they really couldn't afford what they bought.
2-year
moving so quickly
loan
because they
locks.
just kept recycling to a point where, you know, they were playing musical chairs, and eventually the chairs got less and everyone just dropped, and it was just devastating.
Yeah.
And we felt those effects for a decade.
And now none of those loans exist anymore.
They don't.
Not really.
They're less than 1% of the market, which they'll probably have their problem again, but that's 1%. That's not going to affect the market as a whole. We still have a very healthy market, and we're in a great shape, and there's a massive upcycle coming over the next 5 years.
That's
we
exciting.
May see a year where it's rough,
Right.
you know, stays neutral, or even negative 5%, which for us in our business will be fine.
Yeah,
You know, when you have devastating losses like we saw last time, 50% drops, obviously everyone's business is affected. But in a healthy market like this, we're really optimistic.
Were you guys doing this in the last cycle?
We weren't.
When things got crazy?
No,
So
we
you,
weren't at all.
good for you.
Yeah.
Were you?
No, well, yeah, we did short sales though, so we were on the other side of it.
That was a good business to be in.
Yeah, it was for a while, for sure.
It was a
Until
really
Bank of America changed their language in the approval letters, saying you have to hold it for at least 120 days before you can resell it again, which is debatable on how legitimate that is, considering they're not a party to that transaction and shouldn't really have rights to say what you do with it once you buy it. but who's going to go up against Bank of America? Not me. What about how you guys are financing deals? You guys mentioned hard money, and even if you would have kept the hard money, you'd still be ahead with all the property flips you guys have done. But how are you guys financing these deals right now that you're?
We use a combination. So we use multiple hard money lenders. We raise private equity from investors too, and we also use the firm's money. So it's kind of a combination. It depends on the deal, the investment, the amount of risk. We even have other outside investors who, have a challenging time running construction and crews and organizing and designing. And many of them find good deals, can finance it themselves, but want nothing to do with running it. And they just bring it to us and say, hey, we'll give you a percent.
Like just take a wholesale fee or something?
Yeah, or we'll give you a fee or pay your project management company to run it and design it and knock it out. And we do that too. So it kind of just depends. Every deal is different.
So private money, hard money, and then your own money.
Yeah, and the firm's money.
Depending on whatever the scenario is.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine you guys get really good terms on your hard money because of the volume you're doing. And are you working with one company or person, or you have a whole Rolodex full of people to call for the money?
We have a combination. It kind of depends on the deal and what's more favorable. So it all just depends. All the major groups in town, we've tried them all. And no one's really special. It's just kind of who you build a relationship with, and they move it faster for you. And then the more volume you do, the better rates they're going to give you.
All right. And then I just have a couple more questions. I'm going to ask both of you separately because I know that you guys both have some cool stuff that you're doing. But what are some of your favorite tools, apps, software that you use in your business on a regular basis that you love, couldn't live without, make your life easier? Any of that?
The newest thing we added, which I love for email, is Boomerang.
Boomerang?
Do you use Boomerang?
No.
You should.
What is it?
Christie introduced it to me. I'll give her the honors.
Actually, Mark introduced
he
it
did?
to you. I introduced Sane Later and Unroll Me.
Yes, Unroll Me's awesome too. Do you have
I
that?
use Sane Later, which I
Okay,
really
there you
like.
go. I
use
but I don't
Sane
know if they're
Later
the
too.
same
Yeah,
or not.
same thing.
Okay.
No, Boomerang's really different.
Yeah,
than Sane.
Boomerang's vastly different.
So Boomerang basically allows you to keep a clean inbox by boomeranging emails back to you. So if it's something that's not relevant today, but it'll be relevant in 5 days, you get it boomeranged back to you, and then you can respond to it. Or you can get it boomeranged if I send an email to you and it's urgent, and in one day you haven't responded to me, I can set it to boomerang back to me to nudge you, if that makes sense. So it's kind of acting as like an executive assistant.
Love that. Sounds like extra accountability.
Yeah.
You can have it hit you every 2 hours, every 2 minutes.
And then you don't have to
every 2
keep like
days.
50 unread emails that you haven't responded to. It just hits you at
That's
the appropriate
like story of my
time.
life. I probably have 150 right now that I'm saving because
Saving for the right
I can't
moment.
act now, but it's gonna come and I won't forget.
Sane Later, as you know, just sorts your inboxes by like today stuff and then not as important stuff. I use it.
It does filter out a lot of the BS though.
It totally does. It's like stuff that you look at maybe once a week, but you get sent like 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, exactly.
What else do I use? I don't know. It's a really
We have
great
a lot of
question.
software in our company that just makes things more efficient, holds people
I
accountable.
use Trello a lot for the admin crew.
Build out everyone's tasks daily, and you have to check them off on Trello, and it just keeps track. So you can just look at any time and say, "Oh, look, they're 4/5 of their day done," or
You're
show
doing
up the
that
next
daily.
day.
Oh yeah, no, they're like in there they have multiple screens. Trello's just up on one of them.
Yeah, that's something. We give everyone in the company 2, 3, or 4 screens at a time because we've noticed it greatly increases efficiency.
Yeah. I didn't think what other apps I use.
So this is your Trello screen.
Man,
Don't
I
ever
have so
move
many
it.
apps.
So for me, the one tool I guess I live and die by is Google Calendar. So like how the girls have, or admin team, there's now a guy on it, have Trello up all the time is my Google Calendar. So it's always up on my phone. It's always up on my computer. So I have 2 screens, sometimes 3. One of those is always Google Calendar, and I'm always staying on top of things based on that. So it's really like
Because you're planning your
simple.
day and you need to stick to it, or what?
So I use it for meetings and appointments, but I also use it for really urgent TDL things. And I'm pissed if it's like the end of my day and I have things left over that I didn't get to and I have to transfer it to the next day. Like that's a loss for me. So I try to set my day to really be reasonable. I don't like to have things left over on my Google Calendar. So I train the sales team on how to like time block their day based on it too.
Great.
But
It's
I
good
literally
practice.
watch that bar like go down the day, and like it keeps me on it. Like I live and die by it.
The entire company is obsessed with calendaring anything for email meetings, etc. For example, if I want to meet with Christie, it's like, send me a time tomorrow if it's that urgent, or next week to address this and put it on our calendar.
Like it doesn't exist till it's on the calendar.
Yeah. There's no meeting that's going to happen, and everything's calendared out, and we're built out pretty far. In some cases, months out. We have
And
stuff.
what if something comes up that you have to deal with?
Depends on the
Usually
urgency.
you have slots depending.
So you have some flex time built in there?
Yeah, so I have flex time for like email checking or like sales team support. So there's usually time slots, but some days there's really not. Like today there's really not. So if someone asks for a 30-minute meeting with me, it's not gonna happen. And I'm out of town Thursday and Friday, and Monday's a holiday. So we're looking at next like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at minimum. So yeah, I live and die by it. And also if someone sets a meeting with me and misses it or is late, like it is like personally deeply offensive. Like you can do anything and I'm very easygoing, but you mess with my Google Calendar and I will cut you. Yeah.
You learn that if you run Christie on the predictive index. She's a 3 sigma dominance, which is 1 percentile. Like she just doesn't take anything from anybody.
Love
so
it.
if you mess up and you set an appointment with her and you don't show up,
It's going to be a problem.
She'll let you know. It won't happen again.
Yeah.
Well, you probably won't be allowed to set another appointment
That's
with me
classy.
for a while. Yeah.
Appointment banned for a few weeks.
I'll see you in March. You're done for February.
That's great. Anything else? You mentioned a couple more for inside of your business that you guys use a lot of different softwares.
All kinds of crazy detailed software.
AirDNA is a cool one.
It's really cool.
AirDNA.
For Airbnbs.
Okay.
For Airbnb research.
Okay.
So you can look at, if you're thinking about Joshua Tree, for example, we break it down by like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3, 4, and 5. Like how much, first off, how much is the average home selling for with those metrics? And then how much is the actual monthly income for the average Airbnb? Average meaning the average of the best ones, average of the medium ones, and average of the crappy ones. So then you can really see like, okay, a 3 bedroom makes sense, priced at $300,000 or below. That's a killer buy. That's what I'm going to target and go after. That's a really good one if you're.
So it's like comping Airbnb pricing.
It literally has.
It's like analyst
Think about it.
work.
Every Airbnb in this zip code right now is there, and what they're making, their occupancy rates, their revenue rates. Is it a 4 bedroom? Is it a 3 bedroom? You know, what is their host score? And you can kind of calculate and use that to say, oh look, 5 bedrooms in this area, like Pacific Beach, for example, actually make twice as much
crushing it,
per
yeah.
bedroom than like a 2 or 3 bedroom.
Interesting.
And if you had a pool, you're actually at a 99%, occupancy this summer, and you're making this much. And in just those 3 months of summer, you can pay off your entire mortgage. So when you have that kind of detailed data, you can manipulate it and really learn and exploit different markets and find the opportunities, and then buy in that window in each little market and have a killer business. Yeah. And that's what we've done. It's really, really a cool product. And I think we have data like that across everything. Every data set, from stuff like Property Radar, which will give you notice of defaults, and PropStream, which will give you different types of data there. I mean, we have software in every single category of our business that helps us
really good at
stay ahead, because it's it's a crazy advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, to try to calculate those kind of numbers, I mean, you can hire someone full time that just can't do it.
Yeah, you couldn't do it.
The power of
Because you wouldn't
software.
even know their occupancy. You wouldn't even know it.
It's out of control.
So.
It's so good.
It's great.
And if you learn to leverage that kind of software, it makes life easier.
Amen.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. A lot of good ones in there. All right, final question. And this is one I always like to end with. It's just, what's one thing that you wish you knew when you started? I'll ask both of you separate.
Started in real estate?
Started in, real estate or flipping, either one.
I think for me, the number one thing I wish I knew was how to hire, train, onboard, and hold people accountable like we do today.
Yeah.
If we'd known that from the very get-go, and there was years of bad hires and learning processes, from hiring, using the right personality assessments, using the right questions, using the right channels to bring people in from, to the onboarding, 30, 60, 90 training, to holding them accountable hour by hour, helping them achieve each different level to leveling up in our company and growing. Yeah. I mean, that's the magic. Because if you can hire awesome people that are better than you at what they do, and they can be held accountable and constantly grow and succeed, they're going to see success, they're going to be happy, then your company can grow. And essentially you actually have a real company. You can sit up top, you can look then, and then you can identify opportunities like Airbnb, you can identify opportunities like property manager or wherever you're looking at within your industry, and you can be a real business owner.
Yeah, you're able to get out.
I think that's the hardest part for people, is hiring and finding someone that can actually do what they do or even do it better. That's our goal. When we hire someone, we want them to do it better than we can. And as long as we do that, we can move out of the way and go start another business. Yeah. I think that's the magic.
Love that. What about you, Christie?
I love that answer. That was awesome. I was kind of thinking about it. I kind of have two, and one is so hokey, but I wish I had aligned with these guys earlier. They are so fun to work with, and I really was a one-woman show for a while, and then I started my own little team, and it's a grind. I mean, having like a 4-person team in a lot of ways is harder than having a 30-person team. You're so involved. I did everything. So I wish that I had that bigger picture, that growth mentality a little bit sooner, and it was just happenstance kind of that we met through a mutual friend. So it's just been a really fun ride, and if it had happened 3 years, 4 years sooner, that would have been awesome. And then the big one, which is why I'm in real estate in general, even though it's fun, is to own real estate. So I wish that I had started buying properties earlier. I started when I was 27, but I wish that I had started earlier because I could have. I just didn't know to, or it felt intimidating to buy like a 1-bedroom condo, when you have a nonprofit salary. But that thing would have doubled by now, tripled by now. So
I know it's amazing when you look back, you just want to kick yourself.
Oh my God, yeah. If I could have 10 properties right now instead of 4, but that's what I would have done differently.
That's great. Well, I appreciate all the insight. You guys have been awesome. Shared a lot of great information. If you have any questions for them, leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the show. If you're on Facebook, join the Real Closers Facebook group, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.